All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the priest of the United Congregation of Israel, and this is our weekly Bible study that we do on every fourth day, or as it is more commonly known as Wednesday, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. These Bible studies are broadcast through YouTube, and they're also recorded on our call line, and you can get that number off of our website at theuci.org. If the internet goes down for some reason, then the phone line would be a good resource to use. And those things are recorded on there, so you can listen to a number of things on that call line. But before we get started, we're going to begin with a prayer. So we are going to rise and face the east. And all males, remove your head covering. And females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we pray, Father, that as we gather together on this night to read out of this book that you have left unto us, a book, by the way, that people were greatly persecuted for translating this writing into various languages so that we may be able to read the glorious works of Yahweh our Elohim in every place whereby we have been scattered. As you promised us from the beginning, that we would be spread to the four corners of the globe. It would be beneath you to spread us to a place and then not have your word reach unto us in that particular place. So you have called upon many servants of different nationalities, of different countries, different ethnicities, for them to do the work that you have called for them to do, to make sure that these things are available in all of the places whereby you have spread us. We thank you, Father, for your tender mercy, even in the place or in the span of our punishment. You still show us mercy. You still give us little bits here and there, even though our people as a whole are still going through these things that you told us from the beginning that would come upon us if we did not follow the things that were given unto us. We acknowledge the sins of our forefathers. We acknowledge the things that were done against you. And we pray, Father, that you would forgive us. And we pray, Father, that you would set us on a rightful path. We pray that as we gather together on this night, we pray that you would give us the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom to be able to gather the things out of your book that we need to help us walk that narrow path that leads to salvation. We pray this prayer not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Amen.
All right. Now, I was reading an article. Of course, you guys have noticed that this so-called trade war with China is increasing, and China fought back and devalued their currency. It's a game, and by doing their own thing, it caused American stuff to drop. This is when you know you have a problem. When somebody can manipulate their currency, but manipulate your economy. Wait a minute. How you manipulate somebody's economy from your house? That, my friend, is a problem. That is a issue. Normally, if somebody, has the ability to manipulate what you have going on, they had to, come in, get into your computer. They had to get into your database. When you have a situation where your whole mechanism of how you handle your money can be orchestrated from across the waters by them messing with their own stuff. So you can never control somebody messing with their own stuff. That's their stuff. So if they mess with their stuff and it affects you that quickly, you're in trouble. Because you think about what ended up like really getting America's attention when it comes down to a war or something like that. America has showed no problem jumping into those things. But historically, America has had a problem with guerrilla warfare. And guerrilla warfare ends up seriously causing problems to established armies. So even when you deal with this whole Al Qaeda thing and all of that, when you get somebody who is willing to die, it changes the whole game. So if they're willing to sacrifice themselves, then that is scary beyond measure for a country that only likes to deal in pleasure. You know, because what most people are trying to protect against is, okay, if somebody does this to me, then I'll do this and I'll do that. That only works if the person has not got in their head that they're ready to die that day. So none of that other stuff matters because they have already decided that they are going to die that day. So with these mass shootings that are happening here in America, when the people have decided that morning that they're going to die, your plan of attack completely changes. You know, it has to be completely different when that individual does not care whether or not they're going to die. So you have this manipulation. There are things we talked about on the Sabbath about the upcoming war with China and all of the things that America has done. It's funny. Just the other day, I ended up seeing a little news briefing. I was just walking through my family room going somewhere else. And on the screen popped up, North Korea has launched another missile. And it was a near joint, or what they say, they launched a projectile. That it was near where either America and South Korea was doing some joint exercises. So they launched something near it just to show, you know, how they felt about it. And had we not watched the documentary, The Upcoming War with China, I would not know the level of hypocrisy that was in this report. These people understand that America launched live nuclear bombs near these Asian islands every day for 12 years. I mean, these people have all kind of radio active issues. And here this man launches a projectile. They don't even know if it was actually armed with anything. He just, because it was a measure of provocation. Because it looks like, you know, oh, y'all gonna sit right here and practice right in front of me, you know. So, but then that makes the news. So what happened in the 12 years when all of that stuff was going on and it was live, that just somehow, you know, falls through the cracks. So it was interesting to see that little bit of hypocrisy there. But if you don't know certain things, that would not have even, activated your senses there. So there's, you know, some things there. You have that. And then there was another article talking about how China is working closely with Venezuela. Of course, America is trying to get their own guy in there. And China is working with the guy who's in there, helping, trying to do as many things. And they're basically straight up about it that this gets them close to America. Just like America is getting somewhere that's close to them, they are getting places. They're giving them loans. They're giving them all of these things. So eventually, with all of these loans that may not be able to be paid back, eventually you got a full-scale military base, which allows you point blank to be able to shoot at America with, no time flat. They shoot at 7:14, you can shoot at 7:15. And it's not like they'll be shooting from the same location. They're going to be shooting from a place that's close to where they're trying to hit. So, in just understanding that, there's some things that we have to deal with. For the children of Israel, our redemption, and this is the thing that we have to keep in our mind, our redemption is about being returned unto our own land and being able to live in peace in our land. That's why we were spread. This is why being spread out to all these other places and having to serve as servants to the nations. This is why it was such a big punishment, because we are said to be Yahweh's servants. So being a servant to anybody else is belittling. And Yahweh was making that point, that you are to be my servants. But if you're going to deal with everything of the nations, then I'm going to make you serve those nations that you give all your chief time and your chief everything to. I'm going to show you just how vile they can be toward you. So let's begin tonight in Ezra chapter 1. Ezra chapter 1, and we're gonna read several chapters out of Ezra here, because I think one of the things with this whole giving us of this thing of Christianity, the only way you can get your salvation is to die. You die, of course they preach prosperity, but your ultimate goal is to go to heaven. Well, you got to die to do that, and that is an issue there. Yahweh is constantly going over these things that we are to, that he's going to return us unto our land. Meanwhile, everybody else, all of these strange people who have converted, and they have converted to being Israelites or to being Jewish, and they are trying their best to set up shop before Yahweh can do anything. Like we read before, he that is first in his cause seems just, but later his neighbor comes and searches him out. So they are operating just like the adversary. Let me be the first to tell my story so I seem right. But then you give it a little pause, and once a little bit more information comes out, you find out that just because they've gotten there, and I mean, they're sending these things out for everybody to come and migrate to Israel, and they're saying come back. And they have a very, very small number of black people that they are going to allow to be a part of that. And then even then, they have to convert. So Ezra chapter 1, and let's start at verse 1.
Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia.
Right. So Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia. We have to understand that Yahweh our Elohim is not just the Elohim of our little church. He's not just the Elohim of the people that, you pass in the market. Understand, he is dealing with kings and nations. And some of these decisions that they're making, they don't even know why they're making them. They think they understand. They think that they're making these moves on their own. And Yahweh is stirring up their spirit. When it becomes time for something to happen, Yahweh stirs up a spirit within them. Sometimes people will say something and then look back and figure out, what in the world did I just say that? Right, Yahweh stirred up your spirit to say it. You might not figure that out till about a week and a half later as to why he made you say it. Go ahead.
That he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, Yahweh Elohim of heaven has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judea.
Check this out. First of all, Cyrus, king of Persia, made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing. You'll find out these things that are in writing are absolutely powerful because they can be referred back to. See, when people talking, a lot of times they just running their mouth. And when it comes down to that, how are you going to testify against what was proceeded out of somebody's mouth unless they said it to multiple people? This is how Yahweh ends up getting people in that situation, because he will allow, and sometimes, you know, people are slick, just like we did the whole thing about manipulation. Sometimes when Jezebel was trying to manipulate a situation, she brought 2 false witnesses. So when a person is trying to do something foul, they will make sure that they only have 1 witness. But Yahweh is so wonderful. He will stir up the spirit so that they will do that same thing somewhere else. Then guess what you got? Boom, there go your 2 witnesses. It wasn't witnesses of the same incident. It was 2 witnesses of the same type of incident. That's how Yahweh takes care of those who would be slick to try to get around his word. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Who is there among you of all his people? His Elohim be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, and build the house of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. He is Elohim, which is in Jerusalem.
Right. So now even the rulers, you know, after a captivity, Yahweh still has prepared a little something for Israel when it's time to return. You know, I keep telling people, yeah, there were a whole lot of, like priceless things that have been stolen from Jerusalem. And they're just holding it. Yahweh gonna make them give all that stuff back. He's gonna stir up their spirit and they're going to give it back. Right now, the Jewish say that they saw the menorah at the Vatican and they asked for it back. Then the Vatican moved it so that people wouldn't see it anymore, but they wouldn't give it back. Because here's the thing. How a liar gonna tell another liar that we need you to give back the stuff? The Romans said, you know, the Catholics said, look, we stole it. We know who we stole it from, and we didn't steal it from you. Why would we steal it and then give it to you? So they wouldn't even acknowledge the request. Go ahead.
And whoso remains in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods and with beasts, besides the freewill offering for the house of Elohim that is in Jerusalem.
Right. Our people cared so much about the house of Elohim. There was, you know, no measure to the amount of things. This house of Elohim was our connection, not just to our Elohim. It was the connection to who we were as a people. We, being the children of Israel, there has to be a house of Israel. So then you have how strong this connection was when you talk about removing our people from the ability to go into a house and serve Yahweh. It was greatly demoralizing to our people. So it was a great opportunity to be able to return and have a place where you can worship Yahweh in peace. See, we have just now begun to understand a small portion of that. Now coming into the word, because you think about it, we're into this word now. We've come out of the things that we grew up learning, and you realize that there's no place like having your own place of worship. when you get ready to worship Yahweh, your Elohim, amongst people who do not understand, it becomes a vexation of spirit. Why you got to take your shoes off before you enter into the sanctuary? Why you got to do this? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It ends up becoming a vexation of spirit, and it may get you off of what you're trying to focus on, which is worshiping your Elohim in truth and in spirit. So being able to do that in your own house is a blessing that sometimes we just take for granted. Go ahead.
You know, that zeal is still there within our people,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so misdirected and
You got it.
miscalculated. That's why the focus is now on passer, passer, passer.
Yep.
That's why passer can ask for a $63 million plane
Yep.
and get it.
Yep. And it's something, man. You can look at some of those programs and see the zeal that our people have. And like it is written, they have a zeal for me, but not according to knowledge. Mm-hmm. So when you don't have any knowledge, what else is there? Emotion. So when you don't have any knowledge of how, to make your Elohim happy, one thing we know in this flesh, public displays of affection will do you good. So this is what the service has been brought down to. Just the biggest form of affection we could do. Crying, dancing, screaming, doing whatever outburst of emotion to get the attention of your God. And because, the pastor is purposely keeping them dumb, they are constantly having to rely on this thing. Even when they do tithing, which they say is the law, they still don't do it per se by the law. They turn it into an emotional connection to Yahweh, or to their God, like they call him. And then it's more of an emotional display of love and not the keeping of his law. Go ahead.
And even with that, if they understood who the tithe belonged to, they might realize that once again, you're not reverencing the house.
You got it. The tithe goes to that, to the priest. It was to take care of the priest, which is the office that the pastor stands in, and they are not aware of that. When I was there, I wasn't aware of it either. It was interesting, and I wondered why there was a separation in the offering. Mm-hmm. There's a offering that, first of all, it was a chance for you to show off your fancy outfit, because everybody walked all the way around the church to give the offering. But there were two different ones. There was a regular offering, and then, you got a little song, a little tink, 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 Then, there was a song for the tithers. Now that song, the bass guitar come up. Now they're getting down now. So now you get the chance to walk all around the church, show your fancy, outfit. But these are tithers that got put in a different place. Now, because of the emotional display of the song, looking at everybody as they walk around, you didn't necessarily notice that those were different buckets. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's going into the same house, why was there a different bucket? I was there, watched it for years, never knew what I was watching. Got into this word, hit that rewind button. Oh my God, that's why this was like this. See, so if you are in the belief that you are in, that people are in these churches and that they don't understand what's going on, the masses of people don't understand what's going on. The people at the top know exactly what they're doing, because the only reason to separate that is if you understand what it is. He understands what that is when he's collecting. No other person knows what that is. Go ahead.
Not only that, he does not have to waste time counting it, because your tithe is in an envelope.
There you go.
the free will offering is just thrown into the little thing and you keep it moving.
Yep, you got it. And it took me all of this, it's crazy how Yahweh will give you something and you only got a part of that. You might get something in 2019 and Yahweh might not explain it to 2021. But you got a level of understanding in 2019. And then in a couple of years, he gives you something else and you're like, oh my God, so that's what this meant. Mm-hmm. Right. Go ahead.
Ezra chapter 1 and verse 5. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Yehuda and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, with all them whose spirit Elohim had raised to go up to build the house of Yahweh, which is in Jerusalem.
Right. So when you deal with this, Yahweh has raised up the spirit of them. And understand it, he gets this heathen to announce this, and then here it is. Yahweh then goes behind that. This man is only announcing. So imagine if you're in captivity and Yahweh is stirred up in your heart to go back to Israel and help set up a place of worship. But you're in captivity. So you're sitting there and your knees is trembling and, wait a minute, man, this kind of stuff could get me killed. I could go and talk to this man and, and I can end up impaled, hanging on a stick. Then the man turns out and says, to all you whose spirit Elohim is raised up, go and do such and such. Boom. Yahweh has just made two witnesses. One he gave to you, the other one he gave to somebody else. That has now been your securing of this thing. But when you just hear that first one, you might think you're crazy. Because that's a pretty all out there thing for you to be under somebody else's rule and talking about going back to where you was taken from. You might think, I don't know what kind of dream that was, but that dream get me killed. Mm-hmm. I ain't even going to bed tonight. I'm staying up all night because I might have that crazy dream again. Go ahead.
And all they that were about them strengthened their hands with vessels of silver, with gold, with goods, and with beasts, and with precious things, beside all that was willingly offered. Also Cyrus the king brought forth the vessels of the house of Yah, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem and had put them in the house of his God.
Right. All he was doing was holding them. See, America houses a lot of people's gold. They say they still got it. Okay. But when you get to a large, strong military might that has not been invaded, then that becomes a place where people will want to store their goods to protect them. It's like, having a vault, if you will. It's like, where you're safe at. This becomes a safe place to store your gold because nobody wants to invade these people. Well, Yahweh just used the kings of the earth. He just used them as storage facilities. So they hold the treasures of Israel, but when it's time, Yahweh gonna make them return it. Go ahead.
Even those did Cyrus, king of Persia, bring forth by the hand of Mithridath, the treasurer, and numbered them unto Sheshbazzar, the prince of Yehuda. And this is the number of them: 30 charges of gold, 1,000 charges of silver, and 29 knives. 30 basins of gold, silver basins of a second sort, 410, and other vessels 1,000.
So then you understand the great number of things. You know how an invasion goes. People start grabbing stuff, left and right. So we're talking about the stuff that has been taken that is numbered. What about the other stuff that was taken this last time that we might not quite be sure who ended up, sticking it in their shirt? Go ahead.
All the vessels of gold and of silver were 5,400. All these did Sheshbazzar bring up with them of the captivity that were brought up from Babylon unto Jerusalem.
All right, jump to chapter 3.
And when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. Then stood up Yeshua, the son of Jozadak, and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and his brethren, and built the altar of the Elohim of Israel, to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moshe, the man of Elohim. And they set up the altar upon his bases. For fear was upon them because of the people of those countries, and they offered burnt offerings thereon unto Yahweh, even burnt offerings morning and evening. They kept also the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the customs, as the duty of every day required.
Right. And you have to consider that they are getting back into something that they have not been able to do in a very long time. So in each captivity, our people would be separated from being able to serve Yahweh exactly as it is written. That's what captivity does. It takes away your ability to do certain things. You can't do that in somebody else's land. You can't do it in your own land when somebody else is ruling over you. Go ahead.
Ezra chapter 3 and verse 5. And afterward offered the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of Yahweh that were consecrated, and of everyone that willingly offered a freewill offering unto Yah.
Once again, that's that thing where you were talking about, that free will offering versus a tithe. See, our people, it was set different. You have some that say, "Hey, I've tithed. That's it, man." They had tithe and offerings. There was those things. We're in captivity. We don't have the things set up. We don't have the resources like what we had before. Think about it. Most of our money goes to paying for the house that we live in. Imagine if that was a family house and you never had to pay for it. You see how your tithe and offerings could be totally different? That is your biggest bill. And the more money you make, the bigger the house you get, the bigger the mortgage is. But if that was just family land, you're not paying to live. Completely changes the game. And we've gotten so accustomed to having to pay to live that we think that's normal. It's not normal. We're not supposed to pay to live. It's our land. We will never have to pay to live again. Go ahead.
From the first day of the 7th month began they to offer burnt offerings unto Yah. But the foundation of the temple of Yahweh was not yet laid. They gave money also unto the masons and to the carpenters, in meat and drink and oil, unto them of Zidon and to them of Tyre, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea of Joppa, according to the grant that they had of Cyrus, king of Persia.
Right. So then you see, even as these things are in the process of being done, they're still bartering and trade from different nations. So when you have a country like America that ends up saying, "Hey, you people over there, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to place these sanctions and I'm going to forbid other countries from doing business with you." It is an issue. We're talking way back here. You can find trade between nations. Go ahead.
Now in the 2nd year of their coming unto the house of Elohim at Jerusalem, in the 2nd month began Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, the son of Jozadak, and the remnant of their brethren the priests and the Levites, and all they that were come out of the captivity of Jerusalem, and appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward to set forward the work of the house of Yah. Then stood Yeshua with his sons and his brethren, Kadmiel and his sons, the sons of Yehuda, together to set forward the workmen in the house of Elohim, the sons of Henadad, with their sons and their brethren, the Levites.
Right. So as you see this holy work that is going on, you're going to notice that these are men that are going to do these things. And because of the way things have been set up now, people don't really understand when it comes down to holy things. These are the sons and the fathers that have to do these things. So throwing our little newly found understanding, there comes some holy things that have to be done, and people will automatically start trying to throw their wives into places. You got to know where that line is. See, there's a reason why when we do Bible study, because it's an open forum, we will let women ask questions. We'll, clean or unclean, you can show up, because we're not in the sanctuary. When I look at a lot of other places where they worship, they got one room and they do everything in that one room. That is a problem. All that we didn't have, we divided and made the room different so that there is not this situation where you're going into the sanctuary for everything. There's a reason why they had the holiest of holies. It was completely separate. You can't just walk in there. Go ahead.
And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of Yah, they set the priests in their apparel with trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with cymbals, to praise Yahweh, after the ordinance of David, king of Israel. And they sang together by course in praising and giving thanks unto Yah, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised Yahweh, because the foundation of the house of Yah was laid. But many of the priests and Levites and chief of the fathers, who were ancient men that had seen the first house, when the foundation of this house was laid before their eyes, wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy.
So you have some that are shouting for joy because this is the first time they've ever seen anything like that. Others are crying. This is the second time they've seen it. Now, why you have tears on one side and shouts of joy on another? The tears, we understand what we lost. Now to get an opportunity to get back what was taken from us, which basically it was taken from us because of how we acted towards it. Okay, so yeah, was it taken from us? Yeah, it was taken from us, but it was taken because of how we dealt with things. See, so now understanding that, having this long pause without it, there is now this great love for it, and it ain't even done. This is just, you see it in the making, and it just warms your heart to the point where you're about to cry, or you are crying, because you understand what's happening. The other ones, they just see something great. They see something that they've never seen before. But the older ones, they saw it before. They know what they lost. Go ahead.
So that the people could not discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud shout, and the noise was heard afar off. Now when the adversaries of Yehuda and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity built the temple unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, let us build with you.
Right. When our people was in going through this so-called desegregation, here come all of the Jewish people, and here's one of the biggest problems that we will do. We will allow anybody to get in our struggle, and they have absolutely no connection to our struggle. Now the gay agenda has now been attached with racism against black people. And how did we allow that? At any given point, they can decide that they're not going to live that way. I can't decide tomorrow that I ain't gonna be black. You know what, man? I'm tired of being black. I ain't gonna be black no more. I can't make that decision. A person who has decided to go one way or another, at any point, they can change and go back. Ain't no changing for us. So your situation can't be the same as ours. This wasn't a choice that we made. Go ahead.
For we seek your Elohim as you do, and we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither.
Right. So we worship your Elohim too. Let us build with you. Go ahead.
But Zerubbabel and Yeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, you have nothing to do with us to build a house unto our Elohim. But we ourselves together will build unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel, as King Cyrus the king of Persia has commanded us.
Right. See, this is the opportunity to manipulate. Saying, let us help. That's the first thing. And when you backtrack and think about the situations of manipulation that you've had to deal with, it was somebody that act like they was helping you. Let us help you. I help you build a house. Next thing you know, they're manipulating and placing things in it for their own purpose. But they first came like they were helping. Go ahead.
Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Yehuda and troubled them in building.
Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Yehuda and troubled them. Because you got some that would have tried to trouble from within. But when they didn't allow that, the trouble had to come from without. But if you give Lucifer an easier route, guarantee you he's going to take the easy. Ain't no sense in trying to kick down that steel door and you got a straw door in the back. Hey man, just walk through the straw door. Why you spending all your time kicking down this door? You know he didn't secure both of them. He only secured the front one, the one that everybody look at. Go ahead.
And hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose.
Hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose. Man, if I was you, I'd do it like this. Man, you gonna break that brick right there? You know, if you move that brick, man, and put the cement behind it, it'll be better. Right. Go ahead.
Isn't that the same way the Black Panther Party was brought down?
Right. Right. They got infiltrated by those who were black people. Black FBI agents that they sent in, and they frustrated their purpose. Started, getting all kind of strange things. Let's poison the water supply. Hey, genius, you do know we drink water too, right? What's going to keep the poison from killing us? I mean, just strange things. But as long as it caused them to have an inner fight, it frustrated the purpose.
And that was a strange thing because that was outside of what the Black Panthers were all about anyway.
Completely outside of what they were about. And if you look at the old Malcolm X movie, there's a brother who is in the Nation of Islam that was an agent, and he was the one that frustrated the situation and got Malcolm kicked out. Then the FBI agent asked him, Malcolm seems to be more dangerous on his own. We want him to be back with Elijah Muhammad. Can you go and ask them to take him back in? He said, man, you trying to get me killed. He said, I've worked like hell to get this dude kicked out. If he did that, they would then know, oh no, you a spy. Now you want us to put him back in after you were the one that did all the push to get him out? He said, man, no, I can't do that. So, it's interesting how this inner frustration of frustrating the purpose will slow you down. Hey, Rome was brought down from within. All the inner fighting. And Rome's little baby is about to fall the same way. By the time anybody attacks America, she will be all but destroyed internally. All they're doing is fighting each other now. The Republicans and the Democrats, they are already fighting each other constantly now. So by the time there's actually a conflict, they're gonna be all but separated. Go ahead.
I was just looking at, I was trying to pull it up on Google. Here it is right here. This is a store owner. He's got a sign out front that says, burn a rebel flag, get a free chocolate.
Hey, but you got to understand, what is it, like Alabama or something? That's their state flag, or is some strange thing? Like I saw a policeman, and the policeman had it on there. So think about, man, this is a policeman, and he pulls you over, and he's got that in the flag on the car. So you already know what the deal is when he pulls you over. Go ahead.
All the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Yehuda and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabiel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia. And the writing of the letters was written in the Syrian tongue and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, in this sort.
Right. So now you have an organized effort of straight hateration, but this is going to be in written form so that they can sow discord against the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Then wrote Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of their companions, the Danites, the Apharsachites, the Tarpelites, the Apharites, and the Archavites, the Babylonians, the Shushanites, the Davites, and the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asnapar brought over, and set into the cities of Samaria, and the rest that are on this side the river, and at such time.
So you consider, when you talk about all of these things, these were brought into Samaria. So when you talk about this great falling away that ended up happening first in Samaria, when you talk about the difference in the issues of Ephraim and then versus Judah, you can see that they were mixed and mingled already so deeply that they had all of these things. So then when you come back, you have all of these issues. And if you don't set forth, this is how we're going to do it, everybody's doing a piece of what's written and then a piece of what they think, feel, and believe. A piece of what's written and then a piece of what they think, feel, and believe. And if you do that over one generation, you got about 30 different gods being worshipped in the same place. Go ahead.
This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king. Your servants, the men on this side the river, and at such a time, be it known unto the king, that the Yehudis which came up from you to us are come unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city, and have set up the walls thereof, and joined the foundations. Be it known now unto the king, that if this city be built, and the walls set up again, then will they not pay toll, tribute, and custom, and so you shall endamage the revenue of the king.
Right, you're going to lose money if you let these people build this place. See, so it behooves you to keep these people where they are and under control. And understand, once the people move in to the land of Israel, they don't want to give it up. So it is not in their favor for the children of Israel to be set back up. Consider the Jewish. And as we're talking about the children of Israel being set back in their rightful place, there's going to be a problem. That's why Yahweh says, I have a great controversy in Israel. And he's got to solve that controversy from those that say they are Jews and are not, and then the true children of Israel who have gone through the true diaspora. It is interesting as you read all of these things, you don't ever hear any of the Jewish claiming that they've undergone those things. The things that we read in here where it talks about this punishment of captivity, we hear about the Holocaust constantly. Yet we can't find one writing about a so-called Holocaust in this Bible. Yahweh says, I declared the end from the beginning. So did Yahweh miss it? Go ahead.
Verse 14. Now because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king, that search may be made in the book of the records of your fathers. So shall you find in the book of the records, and know that this city is a rebellious city, and hurtful unto kings and provinces, and that they have moved sedition within the same of old time. For which cause was this city destroyed?
Now, a lot of times you learn from the manipulation that was done to you, and you're able to use or employ a few of those tactics. So they said in verse 15, search the records, that search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers. So understand that these nations write down things, they jot down things, and if you can find out where to look to find this information, then you can find an accurate recording of certain things that may help you. Go ahead.
We certify the king that, if this city be built again, and the walls thereof set up, by this means you shall have no portion on this side the river. Then sent the king an answer unto Rehum the chancellor, and to Shimshai the scribe, and to the rest of their companions that dwelt in Samaria, and unto the rest beyond the river, peace, and at such a time. The letter which you sent unto us has been plainly read before me. And I commanded, and search has been made, and it is found that this city of old time has made insurrection against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made therein.
Right. Now, this insurrection, of course, was when the people are trying to rule over them. So, this is what the people who would rule over you then come in and call you savages. They come in, kill, rape, murder, pillage, and anybody who would go against it are called savages. So here it is. This place is insurrection against kings. Oh, you mean they actually wanted to keep their own house when you came in and tried to kill them? What the audacity of those people. Go ahead.
There have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over all countries beyond the river, and toll, tribute, and custom was paid unto them. Give you now commandment to cause these men to cease, and that this city be not built, until another commandment shall be given from me.
Right. So then now the hating worked. So now consider, what would be happening in the emotion of these people who have had it placed in their heart. They had their spirit stirred up. Boom, they go about to make this happen, and then somebody says the right sequence of things, and now just pay attention that everything is jotted down. So if people only look for bad things about you, they're going to find them looking at nothing but these particular things, because that's all that they were referencing, and he found it. Go ahead.
Take heed now that you fail not to do this. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the kings? Now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem unto the Yehudis, and made them to cease by force and power. Then ceased the work of the house of Elohim which is at Jerusalem. So it ceased unto the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Then the prophets, Haggai the prophet, and Zechariah the son of Iddo, prophesied unto the Yehudis that were in Yehuda and Jerusalem in the name of the Elohim of Israel, even unto them. Then rose up Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua the son of Jozadak, and began to build the house of Elohim which is at Jerusalem, and with them were the prophets of Elohim helping them. Verse 3. At the same time came to them Tatnai, governor on this side the river, and Shetar-Baznai and their companions, and said thus unto them, Who has commanded you to build this house, and to make up this wall? Then said we unto them after this manner, What are the names of the men that make this building? But the eye of their Elohim was upon the elders of the Yehudis, that they could not cause them to cease, till the matter came to Darius. And then they returned answer by letter concerning this matter. The copy of that letter that Tatnai, governor on the side verse 6, the copy of the letter that Tatnai, governor on this side the river, and Shetar-Baznai and his companions, the Arphaxadites, which were on this side the river, sent unto Darius the king. They sent a letter unto him, wherein was written thus, Unto Darius the king, all peace. Be it known unto the king, that we went into the province of Judea, to the house of the great Elohim, which is built with great stones, and timber is laid in the walls, and this work goes fast on, and prospereth in their hands. Then asked we those elders, and said unto them thus, Who commanded you to build this house, and to make up these walls? We asked their names also, to certify you, that we might write the names of the men that were chief of them. And thus they returned us answer, saying, We are the servants of the Elohim of heaven and earth, and built the house that was built these many years ago, which a great king of Israel built and set up. But after that our fathers had provoked the Elohim of heaven unto wrath, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, the Chaldeans, who destroyed this house and carried the people away into Babylon. But in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Babylon, the same King Cyrus made a decree to build this house of Elohim. And the vessels also of gold and silver of the house of Elohim, which Nebuchadnezzar took out of the temple that was in Jerusalem, and brought them into the temple of Babylon. Those did Cyrus the king take out of the temple of Babylon, and they were delivered unto one, whose name was Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor, and said unto him, Take these vessels, go, carry them into the temple that is in Jerusalem, and let the house of Elohim be built in his place. Then came the same Sheshbazzar, and laid the foundation of the house of Elohim which is in Jerusalem. And since that time even until now has it been building, and yet it is not finished.
So then as you look, you have to see where things have been recorded, and then you'll find, we can go back and set this same thing back up the same way that this thing was used, the writing, to stop the building. I want you to hold your place right there, because I want you to go to Ezra chapter 2 and read verses 58 and 59, because you have these situations where there are all of these other people that have been brought into the land of Israel, and then what they're doing is purposely frustrating the purpose of what's happening right there. So I want you to read those two verses.
58 and 59?
Yeah. Ezra 2 and verse 58 and 59.
All the Nethinims and the children of Shlomo's servants were 392.
Uh-huh.
And these were they which went up from Tel-Melai, Tel-Harsa, Sherab, Adan, and Immer. But they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel.
Right. And if you read those things, it says they were put off from the priesthood because they should not show their father's house. Okay. And if in the same book they start reading, they say son of, son of, son of, they're showing you the lineage through the father's house. Now, in there's this article says that Aliyah numbers surge fueled by a wave of Russian immigration to Israel. Now, this is an article in Haaretz, and I want to read some things in it. It says immigration to Israel rose by more than a quarter in the first half of 2019, fueled almost entirely by a continued surge in Aliyah from Russia. These are people that are so-called taking their holy journey back to Israel. According to International Jewish Agency figures, in all of 2018, immigration showed a modest gain of 5%. Says a 73% increase in the number of individuals moving to Israel from Russia between January and June more than compensated for drops in Aliyah from many other countries, most prominently France and the United States. Indeed, Russian immigrants accounted for more than half, 51% of the total. In 2018, the increase of immigration from Russia was just under 50%. The figures show that in the first 6 months of 2019, 16,019 individuals from around the world immigrated to Israel, an increase of 28% from the same period in 2018. This includes 616 members of the Falash Mura community, descendants of Ethiopian Jews who were forced to convert to Christianity, whose Aliyah had been suspended for a period of several years. So you understand that how the policy of Israel goes. They make sure they monitor the amount of non-white people, no matter what they are. Okay, they got a cap that they got. Excluding the Falash Mura, the half-year Aliyah figures were up 23%. Now, it says, according to Israel's law of return, an individual, pay attention, must have at least one Jewish grandparent, be married to a Jew, or have converted in an established Jewish community to be eligible for Aliyah. An individual is defined as Jewish by halakha, which is Jewish law, if he or she was born to a Jewish mother or converted by an Orthodox rabbi. Now, your first problem is Jewish mother. I've heard the rapper Drake, and they were interviewing him, and he said, I'm Jewish through my mother. Everything in this book talks about the sons. He could not show in Ezra 2 and verse 59, the Nethinims are the temple servants. You know, these people who were set to serve there. And it says they could not show their father's house and their seed. So if they can't find and show a lineage through a male of Israel, then they cannot claim to be Israel. Simple as that. But what you hear and what we're reading right now today is that they're Jewish halakha. And that's what people have to understand. Jewish law and the law of Moshe have absolutely nothing to do with each other. And this is why you have the renaming of things, so that they can implement what they want, but also take out what they want as well. So the person is defined as Jewish by halakha, Jewish law, if he or she was born to a Jewish mother or converted by an Orthodox rabbi recognized by Israel's chief rabbinate. It follows that an individual does not have to be halakhically Jewish to move to Israel. It's interesting, right? Halakhically. Halakhically, which then would be according to Jewish law, to move to Israel. The vast majority of immigrants arriving from Russia in recent years, according to demographic experts, are not halakhically Jewish. As a result, they are not allowed to marry in Israel unless they undergo Orthodox conversions, which most refuse to do. Roughly 350,000 to 400,000 Russian-speaking Israelis fall into this category, accounting for a disproportionately large share of those immigrating from Israel in recent years. Ukraine has been another key source of immigration to Israel in recent years. According to agency figures, a total of 3,005 individuals from Ukraine moved to the country between January and June. So you get the thing as we kind of jump here. You got Russian counterparts, you got Ukraine, you have those from France, you have a whole lot of things going on, just as it was before, a whole lot of different ethnicities in Israel, but now they've completely changed the narrative. And this is a worldwide, media outlet that everybody is reading now. Or people who are going to Israel, they end up reading it, and they're reading this thing of the halakha. This is Jewish law. And then you have to ask yourself, whose law? Where does Jewish law separate from the law of Moshe? Did you notice within the halakha, did you notice that they did not say Torah? See, there's certain wording you have to learn how to listen for. So they said, according to halakha, you're not halakale. Okay. There used to be a term, if you go back to enough readings or enough writings, you're going to find where the Jewish people quoted Torah, or they said Torah, Torah, Torah. Now that term has changed. Why? Because they're getting that stuff out of the Talmud, out of things that they have written themselves. So they can't say Torah because it ain't in there. See, I can go into the books of Moshe and I'm not going to find that. But if I go halakha, then I'm going to find it halakha. See, I can halakha find some mess. But I can't find that in the law of Moshe. I will not find that in Torah. See, you have to know how to listen. That small word not being there is a huge difference. So now people think about how they're pushing this upon people who show up, and they said it is Jewish law. Okay. Then the person said, okay, well, this is the Bible, right? Okay, well, let me read this Jewish law. Wait a minute. Why am I coming up with something different than what you coming up with? No, we said Jewish law, not Yahweh's law. Oh, they different. Oh, okay, you worship the devil. There ain't no doubt about it. You worship the devil. Go ahead.
Going back to 5.
Yeah.
18.
Yep. Gonna go back to Ezra 5. I just wanted to, because there's places in here and we really skip those, and I want to say it might have been in 2 and in Ezra 2 there is this listing. Ezra 2 and 1. I want to read something. Now these are the children of the province that went up out of the captivity of those which had been carried away from Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon, had carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Yehuda, every one unto his city, which came with Zerubbabel, Yeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Realiah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mizpah, Bigvai, Rehum, Baanah, the number of the men of the people of Israel. The children of Parosh, 2,172. The children of Shephatiah, 372. And on and on and on through the Father's house. There's a reason why we skipped chapter 2. That was just what I just read was that was verse 4. The children of Shephatiah, 372. Do you know it keeps listing all of that all the way down to like verse 60. And then verse 61. Now, this is where you see the Jewish coming. This is how you can tell that they are not of us. And Ezra 2 and verse 61. And of the children of the priests, the children of Habiah, the children of Kaz, the children of Barzillai, which took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai the Gileadite, and was called after their name. So they tried to marry into Israel through a woman. It said these sought their register among those that was reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore, they were as polluted, put from the priesthood, because you do not descend from a man in Israel. Your offspring comes from a woman, but the seed will be of that man. So they were not allowed into the priesthood. You gotta find a man that was of Israel. Now, halakha, you don't have to be. So the thing that goes on in Israel is going to be completely different than what is written in Yahweh's law. That is what we are going to be judged by. Do we get in the land and set up things according to the law of Moshe, or do we do it according to Jewish law? Go ahead.
And that's something that you find that, Edomites did frequently, married women of Israel, because it kind of helps to darken their line and, gives them the appearance of being able to break into Israel.
Right. You think about, you got, Lenny Kravitz. You have these things where now you have a Jewish man who procreates with a woman of Israel, a real woman of Israel, and then you have this Kravitz name going forth as Jewish, but then it appears a certain way because of that union. But no matter whether or not he looks like because people will say, it don't matter if you got 1 ounce of black blood, you black. Yahweh don't work like that. Now, Yahweh is opening up the door for all to be saved. That's not the issue. So some will say, okay, well, y'all going through genealogy to get blessings. No, we're not. But Yahweh has set forth his priesthood a certain way. Okay? That he's very serious about. Ezra chapter 5. Where were we, brother?
Chapter 5 and verse 17.
All right, let's go back to 5 and verse 17. Go ahead.
Now therefore, if it seem good to the king, let there be search made in the king's treasure house, which is here at Babylon, whether it be so, that a decree was made of Cyrus the king to build this house of Elohim at Jerusalem, and let the king send his pleasure to us concerning this matter.
Right. So they're going to search the records, and then you have to go and make sure that they search the records on the things concerning you. See, this is what the haters did. Let's search the records and see about all the history. Ain't that what they do when they shoot us down in the street? They go to find every negative thing that particular individual has done and use that against them to say, you see, they deserve to get shot. Look at the stuff that they had done previously. Keep going.
Then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls, where the treasures were laid up in Babylon. And there was found at Ecmathea, in the place that is in the province of the Medes, a roll, and therein was a record thus written.
Now, in the province of the Medes, those are the Russians. So you got to consider some of these things. So while America has been in everybody else's business, she has not cleaned her own house. So that gave the Russians an opportunity. They said, understand, they use Black Lives Matter. They use everything to get in a way to influence the American political system. So they was like, okay, y'all not gonna fix Black Lives Matter. Y'all not gonna fix this issue. Oh man, this is awesome for us. That gave them another area to come in and infiltrate things. Where the arrogancy of Americans, they said, well, hey, all lives matter. The Russians say, oh no. We know what's going on here. Let us show you. But what are they doing? They're just doing the same thing that they've seen the United States government do in other places. So it's nothing new. But nobody has been bold enough to do it to Lady Liberty. Go ahead.
In the first year of Cyrus, the king in the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of Elohim at Jerusalem. Let the house be built, the place where they offered sacrifices, and let the foundations thereof be strongly laid. The height thereof 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 80 cubits, with 3 rows of great stones, and a row of new timber, and let the expenses be given out of the king's house. And also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of Elohim, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple which is at Jerusalem, and brought unto Babylon, be restored, and brought again unto the temple which is at Jerusalem, every one to his place, and place them in the house of Elohim.
And also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of Elohim, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple which is at Jerusalem, be brought unto Babylon, and brought unto Babylon, be restored, and brought again unto the temple which is at Jerusalem. So once again, you have this situation where Yahweh takes everything. He'll bring forth these nations and allow them to do all of these things. But then when it's time for the children of Israel to be restored, Yahweh will turn around and give all of that stuff back. Go ahead.
Now therefore, Tatnai, governor beyond the river, Shethar-Boznai, and your companions, the Arsacites, which are beyond the river, be you far from thence. Let the work of this house of Elohim alone. Let the governor of the Yehudis and the elders of the Yehudis build this house of Elohim in his place. Moreover, I make a decree that you shall do to the elders of these Yehudis for the building of this house of Elohim, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered.
That they be not hindered. You furnish these men with the things that they need to take care of this business. Go ahead.
You know, sometimes it's best if you just leave stuff alone. Because remember, they were telling the other dude, hey, this happens, then you won't be getting nothing, no tribute coming from this side of the river.
Right.
Now, this man making a decree, and it's going to come from y'all.
Well, you know, it's one of those things, too, that where you might not, we want what we want when we want it, especially when we kind of been psyched up to believe we're about to get it. And then we start going through the process, and then that process ends. How many people would have been so demoralized that they didn't continue, that was it, that they lost all hope because it started and then stopped and then started back? How many people were still around? Consider what happened with Yahshua. He says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no part in me. It says a lot of them said, this is a hard saying, and they stopped following him. Then later on, he said, take this bread, this is my body. And here's this wine, this is my blood. Wait a minute. You mean tell me you ran off all them people and they thought that they were going to have to eat your flesh and drink your blood? So you knew you was deceiving them people. Right. He let their own hearts run them away. See, a lot of times, a lot of people think that they separating themselves. No, it's the God of Israel that's separating them from you. They think they leaving. They think they going. No, the God of Israel said, finally, it is time. You need to go on about your business. And here it is. Yahshua showed. He wanted them to be separated. People keep thinking, Yahweh want everybody and everything. He can't use everybody and everything. Some of them are such a vexation of spirit that all they're going to do is slow down your work. Yeshua knew exactly how many disciples he needed for this job. And all I got to do is make this just a tad bit difficult. Now understand something. You have to consider maybe the 12 didn't understand either. That was a hard saying. And then he taunted them. Are y'all going to leave too? Where we going to go? Where we going to go? Where we going to run into somebody that they're going to teach this stuff you teach? Where we going? They didn't necessarily agree. They didn't know enough to agree at that point. They still didn't move. But then they got the understanding of that later on. How many of us have the faith to get understanding later on? Go ahead.
Ezra chapter 6 and verse 9. And that which they have need of, both young bullocks and rams and lambs for the burnt offerings of the Elohim of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the appointment of the priests which are at Jerusalem. Let it be given them day by day without fail.
Right. And when I read stuff like this, it automatically brings forth the question in my mind, the brothers who say that they are old covenant. They say that they don't believe in Yeshua, the Mashiach. You know, all right, so where y'all doing sacrifices at? And when you see just how orderly this stuff had to be, you know, it's like, okay, so you don't believe in Yeshua, but you don't do sacrifices. If you're old covenant, then you're supposed to be abiding by the old covenant. Go ahead.
That they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the Elohim of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and of his sons. Also I have made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word, let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this. And the Elohim that has caused his name to dwell there destroy all kings and people that shall put to their hand to alter and to destroy the house of Elohim, which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree, let it be done with speed. Then Tatnai, governor on this side the river, Shetar-Boznai, and their companions, according to that which Darius the king had sent, so they did speedily. And the elders of the Yehudis built, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Iddo. And they built and finished it, according to the commandment of the Elohim of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes, king of Persia.
Right. Even amongst the captivity, even amongst Israel being under various rulerships, Yahweh is still there. And Yahweh still orchestrates the things of these kings. So late at night, when, you know, Trump can't sleep with his Russian wife, and he just get up and tweet something stupid, Yahweh might be stirring up his spirit all night for eventually our purpose. And that angel might be stirring. I bet you won't say this. I bet I will. Sin. He's stirring them up to fulfill Israel's purpose. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And this house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. And the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, and the rest of the children of the captivity, kept the dedications of this house of Elohim with joy, and offered at the dedication of this house of Elohim 100 bullocks, 200 rams, 400 lambs, and for a sin offering for all Israel, 12 he-goats, according to the number of the tribes of Israel. And they set the priests in their divisions, and the Levites in their courses, for the service of Elohim, which is at Jerusalem, as it is written in the book of Moshe.
You say it was written in the Halakha?
No, in the book of Moshe.
Oh, yeah, Jewish law, right? Halakha.
Torah.
Oh, okay, so they are different then. See? They are different then. See? So, and this is what you got to be aware of. People will come to you with these terms. And when you don't know the terms, they will make it seem like, oh, well, you just don't understand. So somebody walk up to you talking about some halakha, and you like, what? So then they act like they know more than you because they know these terms. And the term don't mean jack. It's a lie, this term. You don't have to be halakha Jewish. What? Man, it sounds like you ought to spit that out. Whatever that is. Wait a minute, bro. Somebody get him some tissue. Because he hawking something up. That ain't got nothing to do with Yahweh's law. This is Yahweh's law. This is in Wikipedia. Halakha says Sephardic, also transliterated as halakha, different ways of saying it. Ashkenaz is the collective body of Jewish religious laws derived, listen to where it's derived from. It says the written and oral Torah. Wait a minute. Where we get that at? Where we get that at? All right. Halakha is based on biblical commandments, mitzvah, subsequent Talmudic and rabbinic law, and the customs and traditions compiled in the many books such as the Shulchan Aruch. Halakha is often translated as Jewish law, although a more literal translation might be the way to behave or the way of walking. The word derives from the root that means to behave. Halakha guides not only religious practices and beliefs, but also numerous aspects of day-to-day life. Lie. When our fathers went in there, they went under there as written in the book of Moshe. When they said right here, it says, this is where you'll see those different words. Halakha is based on the biblical commandments. Mitzvah. Okay? That's one thing. Then it says Talmudic and rabbinic law. Mitzvah, fine. When you get to Talmudic and rabbinic law, now you would say, okay, it's a rabbi, then that's good. No. Rabbinic law means the opinion of a rabbi. The opinion of a rabbi has now been made law. See, certain things sound like they're really nice, but it's a bunch of mess. So that would be the equivalent to us listening to Creflo Dollar and then saying that it was law because Creflo said it. That's what rabbinic law is. It is a man and his opinions. They have gotten together, put their opinions in a book, and now all of their opinions are law. I heard somebody talk about the Talmud, and he was trying to, and this was a Jewish person, because y'all know I watch pretty much anything for a couple minutes, you know. So, you know, I'm watching the Jewish rabbi explain the Talmud, you know, and he's trying to make it, you know, talk about it like it is this grandiose thing, right? So he's describing the Talmud, and he's saying it's not like any other book in the world. It's not like any. In most books, you're going to find the book has a direction, meaning that if it's for, let's say, building this house, it's going to mention the things that agrees with building the house. It says not the Talmud, not the Talmud. The Talmud is set. It has the pros and the cons. And it's like, huh? Okay, so the Talmud has the opinion of one who agrees with a thing and the opinion of one who disagrees. That's why the book is so large. It is a bunch of opinions, and they're opposing opinions. So what happens? Let me tell you how Lucifer works. If I can give you enough opinions, you are going to feel fine either way, because there's so many options. A lot of people, when they have a lot of options, they'll end up doing nothing Because there are too many options. You know, if somebody said, hey, we got ice cream, vanilla chocolate. You can make that decision right now. All right, vanilla. Okay, chocolate. But I said, all right, man, this is like Baskin Robbins. We got 31 flavors. You might not never get to your turn because these first two are trying to go through all 31 flavors before they pick one. Now, you got 2,000 people, and they all trying to figure out from the 31 suggestions that are there. Now, nothing ever happens. So now you have a book then that is not focused in a direction. Let me tell you something. Moshe's Law is very directive. There's no question about the direction in which it takes. There's no question in the direction that it is for. The way the Talmud works is it's going to give you the pros and cons. So after reading it, you're probably more confused than you were before. Check that out. So then I could say you are halachically confused. See? You are halachically confused. Because instead of dealing with what's written in the book of Moshe, you have now dealt with what's written by the Talmud and what is written by opinions. And when we say rabbinical, do understand, we're not talking about our rabbis. We're talking about the people who were brought in here and taught and then went off on their own thing. Understand what rabbis we're talking about. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 19. And the children of the captivity kept the Passover upon the 14th day of the first month. For the priests and the Levites were purified together. All of them were pure, and killed the Passover for all the children of the captivity, and for their brethren the priests, and for themselves. And the children of Israel, which were come again out of the captivity, and all such as had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land, to seek Yahweh Elohim of Israel, did eat.
Right. They had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land. In other words, they sanctified themselves. Go ahead.
And kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy, for Yahweh had made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria unto them, to strengthen their hands in the work of the house of Elohim, the Elohim of Israel.
Right. Turn the heart of the king. See, there are things that we are awaiting, and understand Yahweh has to turn the heart of the king so that it does what it is supposed to do. Now, on some of them, he has to turn their heart so foul that it actually runs away. See, we don't know what each purpose is, but what we're noticing is you have the white supremacists are loving Donald Trump. The rest of the world, the enemies of America, are loving Donald Trump too. See, the white supremacist does not see what it's doing all around the world. People are beginning to pull away from her because of how this man acts. So, quite frankly, he's actually bringing about the righteous judgment upon Lady Liberty. But then again, he may very well know that. You know, I was we were talking the other day, and we was end up mentioning, you know, yeah, Donald Trump and his Russian wife. I said, well, you know, the other one was Russian too. This ain't the first Russian wife he done had. The other one was named Ivanka.
With the Russians.
See? So people act like, you know, this is a thing. Wait a minute. This dude is in bed with the Russians.
Literally.
Literally. You know, when people say, he's in the bed with the Russians, he's been in the bed with the Russians for the last 30 years. Read a couple verses from Ezra 7, and it's going to solidify our dealing with, of course, Moshe's law and how you deal with lineage and not the halakha. Go ahead.
And after these things, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra the son of Sariah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Shalem, the son of Zadok, the son of Ahiatub.
Okay. So he's going through some things, and now according to halakha, you got to be Jewish through your mother. Now this is their law. Go ahead.
The son of Amariah, the son of Azariah, the son of Marioth, the son of Zeriah, the son of Uzziah, the son of Bukai.
Right. So understand, no, I want you to go down to verse 6. Keep going.
The son of Abishua, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the chief priest.
Oh, so then they back this down all the way down to where the ultimate instruction was given. All through sons. Go ahead.
This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moshe.
I'm sorry. He was a ready scribe in the law of Moshe. We didn't deal with halakha. Our people have to understand that that is something different. Go ahead.
Which Yahweh Elohim of Israel had given.
Right. Yahweh gave the law of Moshe. Halakha came from strange people. Go ahead.
And the king granted him all his requests according to the hand of Yahweh, his Elohim, upon him.
All right, let's go to Psalm chapter 27. And it's crazy that sometimes you got to go through all of these things to establish a perspective that shows the difference. Because we could say certain things, but when you hear the pomp and circumstances in which this stuff is given unto us, according to halakha. Now it'll be, understand something. First time I heard the halakha, it was a sister that was supposed to be a Hebrew Israelite. And I mean, she was throwing that halakha around like, you don't know about halakha, you don't know about the Gemara, you don't know about, and this is all Jewish stuff that our people get a hold of, and we allowed them to be the authority in setting forth doctrine, and then come and throw those terms at us. And if you don't know what this term means, oh, you must not be a true Israelite. And we have to stop allowing, the imposter to dictate how doctrine is examined. Psalms 27, and let's start that at verse 1.
I mean, that theory right there is no more different than you don't speak Hebrew.
Right. But see, I'm pretty sure that also came from them. That if you don't speak the language, you must not, you don't have a real connection to the language. We get some of those emails all along every now and then. They'll go away, they'll come back. You are not, getting the culture, if you're not speaking the language. And my whole thing to them, brother, we've been spread across the four corners of the globe. And here's the thing. This book says heaven rejoices over one sheep that repents. A one lost sheep that repents, right? I guarantee you ain't never found a lost sheep that spoke Hebrew. You know why? Because they ain't lost if they speak Hebrew. Even the places where they're so-called speaking Hebrew, why they still speak English? Because they're not going to understand. You're still trying to teach Hebrew as you're still dealing with your service in English. It's hypocrisy. Do the whole service in Hebrew. They're not going to understand. So how are you being fruitful to the people? Who is growing? And then us learning Hebrew, how does that help all the brothers who stuck in South America? How does that help us speak the word to them? Go ahead.
Psalms 27.
Yeah.
Yahweh is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Yahweh is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell.
Right. People may have all kind of plans to deal with you, and Yahweh is going to foil those plans if we continue in the things that we're supposed to be about. But you can't do evil and then use Yahweh's name, and then at that point, you blaspheming Yahweh's holy name. And see, people say, oh, this supposed to be a servant of Yahweh? They have been doing the same foul stuff I'm doing. Go ahead.
Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of Yahweh, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life.
Right.
To behold the beauty of Yah, and to inquire in his temple.
And to inquire in his temple. This is a wonderful and beautiful blessing, and we take it for granted. Yahweh says, in all the places where I've scattered you, will I be like a little sanctuary unto them. So he'll have a little place that we're supposed to reverence until we get back in our own land and get a very large place that we're supposed to reverence. Go ahead.
For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his salvation.
In his pavilion.
In his pavilion, pardon me. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock.
You know, we have to remember what is written, that he says, he that is faithful in little will also be faithful in much. You know, it never does cross people's minds that maybe Yahweh said, all right, let's see what y'all do with that little sanctuary. Then we get ready to go in Israel, and Yahweh has already decided. See, a lot of us think that we're in the jobs that we're supposed to be in. But you may just be auditioning for the ultimate job that he got for you. See, I know when I had my first job, when my elder was alive, I thought that was my job. I didn't know I was auditioning for another one. So now it's got it on my mind. Am I auditioning for another one? Because see, right now, I mean, you do the job that he gives you. You do the job to the best of your ability. But you may be auditioning for a whole nother job. He says, he that is faithful in little will also be faithful in much. So if Yahweh sit back, he give you a job, then he say, all right, let me see how you're going to carry that out. So a lot of people think that they're going to get a job at some other point, not knowing that they already in the interview. Because, when we know we're in the interview, we put on the interview voice. You know what I'm saying? We put on the interview clothes. We got an interview laugh. See, we got our own interview laugh. It ain't like our regular laugh. You know what I'm saying? We got the interview laugh. We got the interview face. We got the interview thing. That only works, though, if you know you're in the interview. See? Yahweh already said, and Yeshua says, I come at a time that you think not. So the time when you got your interview voice on and you got your interview face and you pretending to be this really great Hebrew, I ain't going to show up that day. That ain't the day I'm coming. That ain't the day I'm coming. Matter of fact, I'm not telling you the day that I'm coming. I tell people you can tell the day that the Spirit was at your house based on what come out on the Sabbath day, and it might be this one thing that you was dealing with, and bam, it come out, but you ain't told nobody. So you sitting up there looking all strange at the computer on the Sabbath day, like, hey man, did you call somebody and talk to somebody? Ain't nobody call nobody. That was the day the Spirit was listening to your living room. Let's see what's going on today. Oh, okay. And I won't know nothing about it. People call me, hey man, did you do something? Man, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, man, the cause is one thing. It's the spouses that go, did you talk to Sark? You talked to Sark, didn't you?
Hey, and I won't be none the wiser. Yahweh, that's that one thing that you have to deal with. You are on a need-to-know basis with Yahweh. Yahweh will have you doing something, and he might not explain to you what you did until about 2 months later. Hey, that's the way that go. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 6. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto Yah.
You're right. But some people might come in and say, hey, man, they acting like it's a juke joint in here. Look at all this dancing and singing, all this music going on in here. Is that a bass drum? What they doing in there? That's too much boom, boom, boom. Right. Go ahead.
Not knowing you, just happy to have a place where you can rejoice.
Happy to be able to rejoice in peace. Because, man, when you start dealing with these things, people who can't even explain the smallest amount of what they do require so much explanation from you. They can't even explain why they're a Methodist or why they're a Baptist. So what is the difference between a Methodist and a Baptist? They can't tell you, but they want you to answer 52 questions about what it is you do, and they can't even answer why they are what they are. Question number 1, but they got 50 of them for you. That's why being able to be in your own house of worship, of Yahweh's house, is a wonderful thing where you can, hear teachings that are not mixed in with Sunday morning dogma. Go ahead.
Hear, O Yahweh, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. When you saideth, seek you my face, my heart said unto you, your face, Yahweh, will I seek. Hide not your face far from me. Put not your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O Elohim of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, Yahweh will take me up.
And some will say, my father, my mother will never forsake me. Well, let me tell you something. If you in this word to a certain degree, your father and your mother might just forsake you, depending on where your level is within this word. Because it is at that point that at some point, the way you walk in the word cramps their style. Go ahead.
Teach me your way, O Yahweh, and lead me in a plain path because of mine enemies. Deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of Yah in the land of the living. Wait on Yahweh, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Yah.
Wait on Yahweh, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. The main thing there is waiting on Yahweh. It's waiting on Yahweh is giving him the opportunity to strengthen your heart so that you may be able to deal with the things that are being presented before you. But it takes the Spirit, as it is written, the Spirit worketh patience. So do we have enough patience to actually wait on the strengthening of Yahweh? Go to verse chapter 28.
I just wanted to touch on verse 11 where it says, lead me in a plain path. And that's what I see a lot of people can't get. That the journey could just be this simple.
Yep.
Psalms chapter 28, verse 1. Unto you will I cry, O Yahweh my rock. Be not silent to me. Least, if you be silent to me, I become like them that go down into the pit. Hear the voice of my supplications when I cry unto you, when I lift up my hands toward your holy oracle. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of lawlessness.
Right.
Which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts.
Draw me not away with the wicked. See, they're being corralled together. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of lawlessness, which speak peace with their mouth, but they have mischief in their heart. That's their intent. Go ahead.
Give them according to their deeds, and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them after the work of their hands. Render to them their desert. Because they regard not the works of Yah, nor the operations of his hands. He shall destroy them and not build them up. Blessed be Yah, because he has heard the voice of my supplications. Yahweh is my strength and my shield. My heart trusted in him, and I am helped. Therefore my heart greatly rejoiced, and with my song will I praise him. Yahweh is their strength, and he is the saving strength of his anointed. Save your people, and bless your inheritance. Feed them also, and lift them up forever.
All right. That is all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's leave out with a prayer. We are going to rise and face the east. And all males remove your head covering. And females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we are ever so thankful that you have given us a little sanctuary whereby we can gather together to read out of this legacy that you have left unto us. We pray, Father, that you would continually provide internet power so that we can continually broadcast these things that you reveal unto us, that we may be able to reach your lost and your found sheep. For there are many people spread out all over that are hearers of your word because of the things that you have provided in your little sanctuary here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We pray, Father, that you would magnify the works of our hands, that we may do even greater works than the works that you have allowed us to do thus far. We pray, Abba Father, that you would place a hedge round about our houses and protect us in our natural houses, as well as protect this spiritual house, this place that you have given us to worship your great and holy name. We pray, Father, that you would deliver us from evil, that you would guide our steps, for we know that the adversary seeks to destroy us, for he knows that we are servants of Yahweh, our Elohim. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Amen.